All right. So I think that we should get started with the introduction at least. I'm a big fan of appreciating when people show up on time, and we certainly don't have, parking or commuting to hold us up these days. Um, but I will say, just to introduce the introduction, first of all, I'm so absolutely thrilled to have Lisa Rubin here with us. She came to speak to us last year around the same time to lunch together when it was in person and not online about the upcoming year's season in what feels like really an entirely different world. And I have to say, and I mean this in the most positive way, Lisa, every time I stress out about moving Temple online, I think, oh my gosh, how is theater doing it? How are the arts doing it? What an unanticipated set of challenges we are all facing as we try and take these things that we love and shift their forms in unprecedented ways. And yet, at the same time, how much we're recognizing the preciousness of these things that make us think and bring us beauty and bring us together. And what better person, I think, to be at the helm of an institution grappling with this than Lisa Rubin. Lisa, I don't know about you. I've certainly had days wishing I was old enough for retirement in the past months, but I think that neither you nor I have that option right now. And so instead, here we are thinking creatively together. And we are really, really eager to hear from you both about the things that are tough and the things that can uplift us a little bit as we gather together today. So without any further ado, I want to turn it over to Sylvi Plante to introduce Lisa Rubin with thanks, Sylvi, to you.
Thank you, Rabbi. It's my great pleasure to introduce Lisa Rubin, who is the artistic and executive director of the Siegel Center, of which I'm a board member. Lisa has brought the Siegel Center to new levels. With her stewardship, she brought the theater, who is based on a very profound heritage, Jewish heritage and Jewish nature, had brought this theater out into the world, but still keeping in contact deeply with its Jewish nature. The Siegel Center has been presenting shows, Jewish stories, deep, touching Jewish stories, such as Indecent recently, who was directed by Lisa. My name is Untitled, but it's also reflected the culture here in the province of Quebec with stories Les Belles Sœurs from Michel Tremblay and The Hockey Sweater from Roch Carrier. But it also has this international edge where it produces production that were produced on Broadway, such as Once. And speaking of Once, I must say, I have a bias, but I prefer the version that Lisa produced than the one on Broadway. It was so touching. There was this touch, this human touch that missed a bit on that Broadway version. So Lisa and her amazing team have been doing great things in Montreal and do reflect diversity and inclusion. And the production of Children of God on the residential school for First Nation people at the beginning of this year was an amazing production. And just to finish, to tell you a bit about this great work that the Siegel Center is doing, all of this brought them to be named a finalist for the Grand Prix du Conseil de la Culture de Montréal for this year. We're still awaiting the results. Everything was suspended because of the pandemic. But this also shows how much the Siegel Center is present and a real citizen of his community, of his city, of Quebec, of Canada. And that's really a salute, a tribute to Lisa's work and her team. So Lisa, it's my great pleasure to let you talk about how you've been handling the whole thing with the pandemic, because the Siegel Center is still very present online.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Sylvie. I was actually going to call you earlier this morning, just like needing a fabulous female mentor to talk to, because as a leader, and I share this with this group, it's not easy. It's not easy in the context of there being no rule book for this, and it's not easy shifting your focus to the HR burdens and the managing of a heartbroken company of not only your work family, but your greater community of artists who have all lost so much. So this is certainly something I was not prepared for. Nobody was. And one of the beautiful things of the We're All in This Together has been the theater sector coming together across Canada, across North America, and the rapprochement with the French sector in Montreal to figure out how to navigate this and to figure out what we need from our government and what we need as a sector, and to realign our priorities on what matters to us for a reopening, understanding that there will be differences. So, and among all that, the show must go on. And, you know, when you have the power and you have the responsibility, all we think about is how do we stay relevant? How can our mission of theater, professional English theater, and exploring our Jewish identity through the arts, and of course, our great vision of thinking of the arts as a transformative, here's my daughter. How do I make stuff distressing? Could she interrupt to ask me that question? Sophie, not now. Okay, thanks. There you go. Our great vision of finding ways that reminding people that the arts is transformative, and that's why we're doing what we're doing online. I wouldn't call it theater, but we're doing a version of theater, trying to keep theater in the hearts and minds of people. So it's been an interesting shift, and at the Siegel Center in particular, we are heading into an uncharted territory where our funding from our major benefactors has all been slashed. We are looking at possibly much lower ticket revenue, and we have now a very small team, less than the number of squares you see on your screen, working with an incredible team at home who have been resilient and who have fought with us over the last 3 months to stay active. And thanks to the Canada wage subsidy and our board of directors, and the idea that we needed to put these people first, these people who we already put in a precarious situation every day, and try to keep them employed for as long as possible. So that's where we are today. And the number one question, when are we going to reopen? Well, I do hope that we can have a spark in the fall of something. And of course, it will depend on the mindset of our audiences, people like yourself. It will depend on the health and safety that we can guarantee to you, to our staff, and to our artists. And it will have to work around our financial capacity in terms of the money that we have coming in, be it through revenue or through donations, to make this work possible. So I hope to spark something in the fall, because we see now, at least, that here in Quebec, they are encouraging us to open. But I don't really see practically a season, a series of work that until 2021. And when you come back, I want you to come back to something amazing. And even if that's, there's some great ideas that we have, and it may not be an 18-person musical right away, although we have like one little dream I could tell you later about that one, but we'll come back with something worth coming out for, and we just want to be ready to do it. So that's in a nutshell. you know, 3 months of processing. I don't know, Rabbi, if you want to ask me some specific questions or how you want to run this, but let me know. I know that when you talk long enough on a call, people tend to stop listening.
So what I want to do is, you know, we're going to frame this one a little bit differently than others of our lunch together online. I think we'll take this bulk of the time in the middle for Q&A and conversation. But I believe you also have a piece to present at the end, or towards the end, and one of your artists here with us. So maybe tell us a word about that.
Yes, so David, Sylvi mentioned Once, and David Terriault is actually the music director of Once, among other things, and I'll read his bio. He's not on right now. He's waiting for me to text him to join the call. But part of these opportunities.
I just got on, Lisa.
Oh, David, you are there. Hi. Sorry.
Hi, guys.
I didn't see you. Okay.
I just got on.
Amazing. So guys, this is David, and okay, David, then I'm going to tell them about you. So David, here, I'm just going to pull it up on this screen. Okay, so part of what this platform and to talk about the arts, and like I came alone last time to your lunch, but now it's very important that I share this opportunity with the artists who make everything we do possible. And David is one of those artists, and Alexis, who is the other performer who you will see, couldn't be here with us today because she had to get another job. One of the most talented actresses in the country, who is now having to do something completely outside of the arts to make a living. So, but here we have David. He holds a bachelor in classical piano from McGill. He's the associate music director at the Charlottetown Festival, where he would be right now had they not canceled it. And some of his credits include Fun Home from Mervish and Musical Stage Company, Children of God, again with us at the Seagull, Once, $1 Million Quartet, I Love You, You're Perfect Now, Change, Forever Plaid, Phantom of the Opera at Sheridan College, La Belle Sœur in theater that we did with Theatre Calgary, and more. He was also set to work on the French adaptation of Fun Home with Théâtre Jean Duceppe. And I can tell you, he started with us when he was 19 and has now gone on to be one of the most sought after professionals in music around the country. And we keep offering him things, and he keeps going away from us, but to really special and big things, and we're so proud of him. So that's David. Hi.
Hi. That's nice. Thank you for the nice introduction.
But I'll ask you, David, representing, I still have a job, representing an artist whose contracts were canceled, to share with us a bit about that experience, and among your peers in who were also lost their contracts, what's happening and what are the feelings?
Well, I think the number one thing that's very destabilizing is the unknown. We just don't know. No one knows what is happening. No one knows what is going to happen in the arts industry. We started, the whole thing kind of went out mid-March. I was doing a workshop at Centaur Theater in Old Port. And on the last day, we were supposed to go into rehearsals for Fun Home, which was supposed to happen at Place des Arts. We had 4 weeks of rehearsals. And then the day before we were supposed to go to rehearsal, we got a call saying, first week of rehearsal is canceled. And then we sort of like looked at alternatives, and then second week of rehearsal is canceled. And then a first half of performances is canceled. And then the whole run is canceled. By then we were like, okay, this is really unfortunate, but hey, we've got the summer to jump back in. And then we get a call saying that the whole Charlottetown Festival, which is a massive contract, it's 4 months, 4 months and a half, almost 5, that we just are in the East Coast and work there on working on so many shows. And then we get a call saying that the whole festival is canceled. And then we get a call saying that the fall is canceled. And And then just 2 days ago, I got a call saying that a show I was booked to do in February 2021 got canceled. So it's just every single week and day is incremented in not knowing what is going to happen. And that goes also with, obviously there's the financial aspect that is very destabilizing, but also just what are we doing for our day-to-day? And there's some great projects that are happening online, like the 10th anniversary of the Broadway Cafe that I just finished putting my last track for that anniversary. So there's little projects here and there, but it's very different. Everything is now online, which some people like myself were not trained. We're trained to do live music, live theater. So transforming that into online platform is great. It keeps us connected, but it's for sure not the same platform. So yeah, so we get to connect with other artists online. I get to, perform with Alexis on different videos, but I haven't seen her in months now. So yeah, it's just completely different world.
Completely different. Yeah, and one of the things I'm sure many of you have noticed is that the artists have come out in full force from the very beginning to make people feel better, to raise money, to be the vehicle that's raising money for the essential services or to help our frontline workers. The artists have come out to rally that we can do this and to entertain us. And so many artists are working for free to even do that. And so there's a lot of, and even the Siegel Center, a lot of our online content that we're doing, we feel now is the time to be there and stand up for our community and use what we do best to serve it. It's not about paying for this right now, but there is that hope that we recognize and remember the arts as an essential service, as what it did for mental health, for the self-isolation, so that artists don't have to fight so hard or we don't have to fight so hard, to ask, for a certain ticket price. And I know I'm speaking to theater lovers, so I'm not, and donors, and I know this group knows this already. So it's just, but I'm sharing with you the general kind of, the sentiment that we want people to see us too, I think, and we want to lobby our government to support us because we're gonna have to shut down for so long, and to do things like extend the CERB or whatever they can do, because our economic role is really, really important as well. So that's what's happening. But just to tell you some of the things that we have been doing, as David mentioned, we postponed it, David. It's not June 11th anymore. But
June 20th, I think.
June 20th. There is a Broadway Cafe 10th anniversary celebration that is, I've been starting to see samples of what we're preparing. It's incredible. If you don't subscribe to our newsletters, please do, so you can find it about that. Monday nights, I get together with some of our favorite casts or friends from New York or directors that I've worked with, and we reminisce and we talk about theater. Our academy has been going full on, and all the kids are making final presentations. We just did Godspell, and I watched it, and it was incredible. And by the end of it, the kids were in tears because of what they accomplished and also what they lost. And we're doing our Jewish Arts Mentorship Showcase coming up next week. We have these theater clubs that instead of our Tuesday night live events where we have for the under 50 crowd, We're doing it online as a book club. We're watching things online that are theater related and talking about it to keep top of mind. And we're sharing and partnering with anyone that we can in terms of the different aspects of our organization. And we have these Kumsitzes and Dorwatz Miniatures Theater watch parties. So it's been a very full schedule just delivering the online content. Oh, and you may have seen Nick's happy hours where he brought show tunes for 2 hours. So we're doing what we can. We're doing what we can. Yes, Lisa.
I want to jump in with a couple questions, but first a thank you. As you know, I've got my Yaya Yiddish theater kid beside me, and the way that the staff and the teachers have kind of moved something which is such an in-person experience, online has been absolutely heroic as far as I'm concerned, and really appreciated. I'm wondering about a couple of things. One is if you could say a little more about how you're trying to think creatively about making it through this year financially. I know one of the things that we think a lot about is that it's a relationship. It's not a fee for service year by year, but of course, when people are buying subscriptions, it is that. But of course, the Siegel Center is more than that to people. So I'm wondering if you can share any of how you're thinking creatively about how to come through this next year and keep people connected and supporting. And then the other piece, this might be way too technical for everyone, so forgive me if so. I have never thought I would spend time reading articles about like how a virus is aerosolized and the dangers of singing and projected speech in groups. But what seems to be emerging is that gathering for things like what we do and like what you do is actually, extra high risk, just as a bonus round of challenges. So I wonder how you're thinking about that a little bit as well, if you wouldn't mind sharing, and then we'll open it up to less shop talk, perhaps, and more general questions.
Okay. Well, financially speaking, I think this is why you see a lot of theaters making the decision to stay closed, because nobody wants to open up to a third of their house. It's easier and if you have a 2,000 seat theater and you can have maybe 300 people, but no one wants to do that. Nobody wants to only have one actor on stage. And also no one wants to take, one of the difficult things is understudies. Like in every show I've ever worked on, an actor has a cold. This is like every show. At some point, you have actors working their butt off for 3 weeks, then going into an extended tech week. People are tired. Hand sanitizers have been out in rehearsal rooms and in dressing rooms for the last 50 years. So but the scary thing is what happens now when that happens? Do you have to shut down? How do we do work that isn't just two actors staying away from each other? We want to do work that has all the risk taking and the intimacy and the touching and the feels that's what the theater is. So, financially speaking, I think there's this, let's wait until we can do it right, and because the risks are too high. At the Siegel, we are luckier than most because we have an endowment built by the Siegel family and other philanthropists. And that endowment is what's keeping our lights on. That is how we will survive. We will continue to pay our electricity. We will continue to pay our small staff, and we will continue to be able to do smaller things. But until and creatively speaking, because I know I need more money, there are, thankfully, our government, federally speaking, and I believe Quebec is working on it, there are lots of things we can apply for. So over the next few months, I will be applying for the things that they want, so that I can be innovative and I can get support. We will be reinvigorating our fundraising. And we never have put our faith solely in ticket sales. We can't on 300 seats, and so we still won't. But I need to think creatively in terms of the cost of the work that I'm going to do as a practical thing. You know, I can't do, I was planning for next season a musical from Israel. It never got announced, but this was going to be an 18-person musical that had been running in Israel for 6 years. It's kind of Israel's greatest hits. And we were going to do the English language premiere of it, working with, you know, their top director from Habima and the choreographer from Mythic, Avichai Chacham. And I just can't afford it now. So I will get there. We will get back. But I think the new normal for a year is just going to be a slow return. And I will do some great two-hander shows that you will love, you know? And if I can make the musical, of course we will as well. But yeah, so, okay, that's the financial piece. I hope I answered that. And then, and that ties into the question you're asking about the risk. And the unions, we are not hearing very much from the unions right now, but it is, and we want to, we don't understand maybe what's taking them so long, but the artists are going to have the same needs of safety as anyone else, even if they want to come back, even if they want to put themselves at risk. How that's going to work, and I have no idea. I have no idea. David, do you have any idea? I have no idea.
Well, talking about the union, that's actually a great comment. It's true, like the musician union or the actors union have been very silent, but also very kind of late to reactions. They're kind of like reacting a week later than the events. But yeah, it's in week after week, the developments are so different. Last week, I thought that work was going to come back 2021, and then this week I'm like, maybe it's more summer 2021. So it's everything is changing so fast, and it's almost like we're playing catch up to Mother Nature in a way. So yeah, so it's hard to tell right now, but as Lisa said, doing smaller works, two-handers, something, you know, less, as you know, not 18 people musicals. I think that will be the way to do it at first. And also I think the Seagull is very lucky because it's a smaller house, and there's also there's two houses. It's smaller than and I believe that will start opening before bigger houses because there's less risks. Big shows like Place des Arts or Mervish in Toronto, those are the bigger risk takers because there is way more people to fill in those spaces, so the costs are way higher. So the risk is bigger. So the Seagull Center, I believe, I don't know the details, but I believe is a bit more lucky than other theaters.
Yes, except that means, like, if we're going to follow the rules, what we're going to have 25 people come, you know, it's, but there are creative things that are happening. It's like, do the show 3 times a day, find a 1-hour show and just do it 3 times a day. Or what if we use our entire center and do kind of an immersive experience? It may not, it could be really cool that you go in groups of 10 and we put on a really creative, immersive experience to come back with.
Absolutely, absolutely.
As we need to come back, and we need to come back because I think people need it. Like, I'm sure you watch, I don't know if you watched anything where you've seen an audience and you see them clapping and you see the feeling that you feel when the audience and the artists are connecting. And it's like, I mean, I've watched maybe too much of it, but I miss it. And I think we all miss it and we all need it. And I know everyone's going to come back. There's just a lot of red tape to get there.
I really appreciate your sharing some of the creative thinking, because, you know, you're talking about no one wants to play to a theater that's only a third full, and so much of what we thrive on when we gather people is that feeling of intimacy and fullness. And I think it's going to take real readjustment for both performers and audiences to think about how it will feel to kind of come back in different ways. So I want to open it up. I want to hear from the people here. I